Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Cloud Hour. And today's episode is one I've been really looking forward to. We are diving deep into system design on AWS, and we have a very special guest with us who is none other than Mandeep Singh Shekhawat. He is an orally author of the book System Design on AWS, a passionate software engineer, DevOps and cloud architecture expert, AWS Community Builder, and also a content creator on YouTube at MsDeepSingh. Mandeep brings a wealth of experience designing scalable, resilient systems in cloud. And today, we are going to explore everything from his thought process to real-world architecture tips that you can apply today. Let's get started. Yeah, thanks for joining everyone. Today we have Mandeep with me. Hi Mandeep, welcome to the podcast. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hey everyone. Hey Yeshwanth. I'm Mandeep Singh Shekhawat. And I am a software engineer basically, if we go by the profession. So I'm a software engineer working at Kyndryl. I have 7 years of experience. Like the day we are shooting today, it's the 7 years completed today.
Oh,
So I joined in AWS back in 2018 on 9th of July. So yeah, progressing through the career journey, I started with AWS, then Amazon, then I worked for a startup called Jupiter in Bangalore, and these days I'm part of Kyndryl org. So here we are focusing on cloud infrastructure modernization. We offer SkyTap as a service. It's basically cloud provider which allows you to run power hardware. So yeah, this is more about my professional journey. Apart from that, I'm also a author of a books of system design on AWS, which was published recently in this year in partnership with O'Reilly and with my co-author Jayant Kumar. And I also keep on tech content on YouTube as well. So I keep on exploring and reading stuff about what companies are doing, different architectures, cloud architectures, how systems are built. So I'm keen on sharing the knowledge on YouTube. So yeah, that's also there. Publish weekly videos on YouTube channel MsDeepSingh. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And yeah, glad to be part of the podcast today and share my insights with everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, Mandeep. Thanks for your lovely words. And congratulations on your work anniversary. By the way, I didn't know that. And to be really honest, I've been following you since 2020. So I was one of the aspirant to join AWS before. So I used to follow your cloud support associate role interview series. I think I remember messaging you on Instagram, but I didn't really get a response then. Yeah, so that's how it started. So got some insights as to how things work in AWS and what they expect when you are joining for AWS. Good to know that. Now I'm happy with what I'm doing. Thanks for the introduction. I also learned that you have authored a book, which is wonderful. I had to read that as well. I got a copy thanks to that as well. It's really beautifully articulated. I went through some of the chapters. Of course, it's a 300, 400 page long book, so I cannot go through all of them at one shot. But yeah, I'm referring it as a guide whenever I'm designing something in my current work. So I refer that and I understand what they're doing in different organizations and how I can inculcate in my work. So that's how it is. So I also know that you run a YouTube channel. That's how we got connected and things are going well. So I would like to ask you one question. Like in your view, what are the fundamental principles of system design when you're working on AWS? Because you had prior experience working in AWS, and what are the fundamental principles that we need to focus on?
I mean, if we just say about AWS, the AWS WellArchitected Framework is a good place to start. It has a lot of design principles included. So there are, if the audience haven't explored the AWS WellArchitected Framework, it has different pillars like operational excellence, security, performance optimization. Okay. Now, in these pillars, there are different design principles which are defined that like if you are focusing on this one, ideally you should focus on all. But if you are, let's say, focusing on a particular one, then what are the different design principles you can follow? So I will say that if you are just keen on developing on AWS, just read about those and understand what kind of design principle will make sense to you as well. Because I mean, not all best practices will be best for you. There are a lot of things which are included there. Some of them will make sense at your scale. Let's say you are just starting out. So multi-region architectures do not make sense at all to you. But let's say logging or monitoring, observability per se. So these things are really keen even if on the day one, if even if you are launching a startup on day one. So you will have to figure out that, yeah, these are the design principles which makes sense to me, perfect for me, and use those. And then apply those. Another example being, let's say, there is also being mentioned that you should use managed services. That also you will have to evaluate for your use case. It might be good for you, it might not be. So you have to figure out again, depending on what are your needs, how much you can spend, what's your previous expertise. So all these things combined, you will have to evaluate and do that trade-off analysis, and then figure out that, yeah, this is the best for me.
All right. Yeah, I completely agree with you. So when I was getting started, I used to hear a word, well-architected framework, a lot. So for the for the viewers who do not know about well-architected framework, would you like to explain that in a sentence or two so that they are aware of it?
I mean, just to explain in a sentence, it's a guidebook to get started and like what all best practices you can follow to create a perfect architecture. So, I mean, best practices to create that perfect architecture. But as I said before, so this is the definition, but as I said before, you will have to figure out what kind of these principles or practices make sense to your use case.
100%. And we also use a term called managed service. So for the viewers who do not know what managed service, it's like AWS manages everything, and you just plug and play with it, start using it, and that's how it is. Like they take care of scalability, reliability, and everything. You just
Yeah.
have to start using those services. So yeah, I totally agree with you. And you also mentioned a lot about cost, scalability, resilience, and a lot more. So how do you balance cost, scalability, and resilience when you're designing a system?
So, I mean, like I like whatever system I'm working on, I definitely start with the requirements, and that's what everyone should do. That what are my functional requirements per se? That like let's say I'm designing this particular system. What are the features, or like what kind of feature things you want to offer to the customers? And the second part is that what kind of non-functional requirements, as in that. What are the expectations from the system? So the things you mentioned, that the system should be available, or we have to focus on resilience part of things. So these things come as part of NFR, non-functional requirements. Now, whenever you are designing a system, again, I think we will keep on repeating this term throughout this discussion, that you will have to evaluate, do a trade-off analysis, have to build that thought process of doing those things.
Mhm.
Now, let's talk about cost. Okay, now if we talk about cost, there are a lot of things to consider. Let's say if I'm choosing a particular technology,
Yeah.
now one thing could be that I manage it by my own. Let's say you are using a database, so you have installed your own database on a EC2 machine. So that's one thing you can do. Or you use RDS, okay, which is an intermediate path. Then you have Aurora, okay. Then after Aurora, you have also Aurora Serverless.
Yeah.
And they recently introduced DSQL as well, where you have horizontal scaling in place. So these are the different things in place. Now you have to figure out that this is the thing I need, and these different services, like different what you say features of a single service as well. What kind of deployment you want? Okay. Now depending on your expertise, you can say that. So one more thing I want to include here is that as part of cost, it's not just a cloud provider bill. You will also have to hire the engineers.
Yeah.
Okay, you also have to spend some time of your own. So you have to have that expertise in place. If you have that expertise, already have that expertise, okay, now you can directly go and then use it. If you don't have that expertise, so instead of thinking that let's build that expertise and then use that particular like not managed service, okay, so that's how you have to figure out that this is the cost I can bear.
Mhm.
As calculation of cost, you have to figure out the total cost of ownership, TCO we call that,
Mhm.
the total cost, and depending on that, you have to figure out the thing. Same goes for availability and reliability. Now we talk about availability, we say that your deployment should be multi-AZ, okay, or let's say Netflix has multi-region architecture.
Yeah.
Now, as part of all these things, you have to figure out do you need all these things? Okay. If you need, then definitely. But most of the people don't need it at the start of the project or like whatever they are starting on. Okay. Multi is offered as inherently as part of multiple services like Aurora and all. But again, in EC2, you have to do it on your own. Same goes for reliability as well. You have to figure out, let's say, in case of databases, how frequently you want database backups.
Mhm.
All these things. I mean, I think I'm repeating, but you will have to do that trade-off analysis. That yeah, these are my factors, and this is what makes sense to me. And depending on that, you decide that these are the NFRs and what's the level of that particular NFR you need whenever you are architecting any system.
Got it. Yeah, that's very crucial part of when you are designing any system per se. So I would like to consider myself as a person who do not know anything about system design or things like that. So I'd like to ask you one question. So system designing a system is it part of a software engineer's role, or who manages it? Who is the responsible person in an organization for designing a system?
So I mean, it's part of software engineering only. There is no separate role which says that you will design the systems,
Mhm.
because see, there is no perfect architecture in this world.
Absolutely.
Always trade-offs.
Yeah.
Now, how will you understand that what are the trade-offs and what things will make sense to me? Those things come from your own experience. You reading about what other people did, and
Okay.
that experience comes with whenever you are doing stuff by your own. So
Mhm.
as and when you are like progressing in your career, you understand stuff how systems are working, and based on those new learnings, whenever your new systems come in, okay, whenever you have to architect new systems, that's how you use those philosophies or like edge cases which you have identified. Now, as part of role, I mean it's really. I mean, it really depends like at what level you get to design the systems. But generally, I have seen that for SD ones, it's generally you see that they code out the system. They
Mhm.
have understanding on low level design and all. But starting from SD2 to SD3 and then progressing through the career to architect or like going up till the CTO, you have that. I mean, the scope widens out. Okay.
Got
So
it.
for SD2, let's say you are just thinking about the systems in your organization. But let's say if you're SD3 or SD4 or principal or like whatever role your company has, you have to like whenever you are designing system, you have to identify that how can this system be utilized by other people as well, or is there already a system which you can leverage or extend the functionality in existing system. So, I mean, as and when you are progress through the role of software engineer, this is how it is. And I think it's much similar in DevOps and all these things as well.
Mhm.
There you might have things specific to deployments and all, where you have to figure out different strategies. That
Right.
yeah, for software engineer, it could be your software system, but
Mhm.
how would that software system be deployed? So that's what figured out by DevOps system.
Yeah.
And that also depends on the requirement, that what are the kind of requirements, and then based on those you do that analysis and then figure out, yeah, this is the solution which makes sense to me, because
Yeah.
there
The reason why I
are.
asked that question is like in my channel, most of the viewers are focused on cloud DevOps and data side of things. So they need to have an understanding as to what a system design and where exactly we work on this, right? And would you also like to talk about like what percentage of system design knowledge a engineer, a fresh graduate should have in order to secure SDE job?
For SD specifically, I think for freshers, it's not asked in detail. As I said, right? You could have basic understanding of systems and the concepts and all.
Okay.
Let's say what load balancing is, what are API gateways, or like basic understanding of things like whatever you study in your college. Let's say databases.
Mhm.
How to decide which database makes sense to me. So
Okay.
you do that analysis on the query patterns, okay, or like you study about relational databases, non-relational databases. Similar goes to networking protocols. You study different networking protocols. So
Mhm.
if you have a use case, how do you figure out which networking protocol I have to use? So these all are system design. Like system design, it's just not a fancy thing to do when you join a corporate. It's all the things you learn in college as well, and these are the, like, we understand the theory in college, but you then decide when you have to actually use that in system. That, yeah, I mean, let's say you are designing a chat application. So which kind of networking protocol you used? So if you studied these networking protocols in college, you will have a sense in your mind that, yeah, I have studied something like XMPP or WebSockets, or these kind of protocols which might be useful for me. So then you can dive deep more onto that. So yeah, I mean, basic concepts definitely to freshers, but they are generally not asked around high level design of things. Like when you actually architect, let's say, a chat application or a specific feature in a social media application or something like that.
So thanks for sharing that detailed view on system design and things. So let's assume that I want to start my system design part right now. So what's the sort of roadmap that you advise me to start off with? Like, do you ask me to start with the basic understanding of the fundamentals of technology, or how is it?
I mean, fundamentals is a good place to start with. Then I will suggest that you keep on reading stuff. Okay, so let's say if you are in college only, then you can read about the engineering blogs which are published by a lot of companies. So there are very detailed blogs which are published by different companies. You can definitely read those, and then there are different things which will come out of those blogs. So then you can read about those again. So that's how you can develop that what you say thought process or understanding of things. Now, if you're part of your company, if you have already joined in, if you are new, then you can read about the internal documentation about how the systems are currently designed, what were the features, how was a particular decision being made, how was a particular technology was being chosen. Okay, it
Yeah.
could be as simple as, let's say, you are using serverless versus you are developing your deploying your solution on EC2 or ECS Fargate or something like that. So how were those decisions being made? So if you develop that thought process, that will intrigue you to read more, understand more, and then you will also be able to apply those concepts on your own systems which you are designing or implementing. So I think that's the good place to start. Start with the fundamentals, read about those things, and then keep on reading stuff. And as part of that, you will see that there are new things. Then read about those. So it's a continuous journey.
Got it. Yeah. So always, whichever the career path you choose, like I also advise my viewers that always have a fundamental knowledge which cannot break you up,
Yeah.
even everything goes off. So if that is there, like you can start building up the ladder, and you can figure out what you want to do next. So that's a wonderful advice as well. So, talking about this architectures and things, can you share a real world project or a client use case that you worked on or you designed on? What are the key challenges, and how did you overcome them? Of course, I know that you cannot share the entire architecture and explain about it. Like you can just share a gist of what you have done so far.
Yeah, I mean, I worked on a couple of projects, so it's been quite a journey till now, and I got to work on a lot of exciting projects. So I have been lucky that way. So I mean, so as part of my previous startup, as part of Jupiter, I was part of payments team. So there, I designed one system, which was, I mean, what you say, responsible to provide a unique or what you can say uniform checkout page to process all the payment options. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So I feel like every team was managing their own checkout pages, and then they were calling the payment service to process the payments.
Hmm.
So my system, or like the system which I worked on from design and then to launch and all, that system was responsible to provide a uniform page so that customers always has same page, like whatever product they are using. Let's say they are buying an investment, okay, or let's say they are paying any bill, so they will have always have a same uniform checkout page. Think of Amazon checkout page or Zomato checkout page,
Hmm.
and there are different payment options, so it's a multi-tenant system. Now, as you said that I will not be able to share much details. I left the company, but still.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I mean, there are a lot of things. So, in payment systems, you will have to figure out that your payment should only be processed once. That's a critical requirement. Uh,
Absolutely. Yeah.
it has to start from day zero. Okay. So, when I say the system should be reliable, so the system should work as when it's available, and then it should work as expected. It should not happen that the system worked, but the payment detected twice. Okay. So,
Right.
that you have to ensure from day one. So this is one of the critical requirement in payment system, that whenever a user is paying money for any use case, your system has that built-in capability. So you basically design item-potent APIs. So there are different again choices which you have in this scenario. Let's say you can leverage DynamoDB version attributes. Okay, let's say attribute is version 1. So if it's modified to version 1, then you version 2 you will know that, yeah. And if there are two similar requests trying to modify the same version, then you will know that, yeah, there is a conflict. There is also feature of DynamoDB idempotent. I think it survives for 3 hours or so. You can pass idempotency key if you're using DynamoDB. Okay. If you're using, let's say, relational databases, then you have to figure out whether you are having that row level locks. Okay. So
Mhm.
that same row is not modified multiple times. Let's say for that same user as well, if by chance multiple requests come with same attributes. Okay. So
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, this is one of the requirement which I can share with you, and there are a lot of design choices from which you have to decide that, yeah, this is best for me, and it's easy to implement as well.
Right. So, like we discussed a lot about DevOps tools and different sort of tools and how do we start. So one another aspect that I was thinking is that like there is a overlap between DevOps and also the system design part. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would like to ask like how do you bring DevOps into system design conversation?
So for me, right? So when I was part of Amazon,
Hmm.
like whatever systems we were working on, we never had a separate DevOps team for us.
Hmm.
So I was part of transportation team there, transportation and logistics, and we didn't have a separate DevOps team. So whatever systems we were designing, we had to create our own CDK for like launch of the things, and then you deploy them as well. So you are designing the system, you are writing the code for infrastructure, you are deploying it, and then you are also managing it. Now, let's say for a scenario that you have a separate DevOps team and then you don't get to work much on the DevOps side of stuff. And it I have seen in some companies as well that there's a separate DevOps team which has the infrastructure in place, and then you kind of plug there your architecture. Your, let's say there is already a Kubernetes cluster launched, so
Hmm.
you just define your YAML or like what Terraform files, and then use those to launch your service on that existing cluster. Now, how do you bring these things in picture? Like, let's say, as for the sake of interviews, I think most of the people watch your videos or my videos for sake of interviews. There are very few audience which actually do it for sake of learning. So that's one thing. So as part of interviews, I will say that even if you are not get to work directly on it,
Hmm.
try to understand as part of, let's say, on calls, what kind of issues you are getting.
Got it.
So when I was part of Jupyter, we frequently used to get issues like why this I mean what this particular DB query is slow. So
Hmm.
then you have to decide on, let's say, can you cache this query? Okay.
Okay.
And one time we also observed that the problem actually occurred due to AWS side of things. Like there were no issues at our end as well.
Mm.
So as part of incidents, you will get to know that this is the thing which is being used, and then it will require your involvement basically.
Yeah.
That get involved in stuff, and then you will get to learn the things as well. Because in small teams, if you're lucky enough to join a startup, there are smaller teams. You can directly go and interact with people. So that's how you understand it. So I
Agree.
think starting point.
Agree with you. The zeal should be within us. Like, if you want to, go up the ladder, you should be in a situation where even that is not as part of your work, you should pick up the work and you start learning about things. So although like system design was not my aspect at the moment, I started, reaching out to you, asking for a books to see how things will go on AWS and how to design a system on AWS. So yeah, like when we talk about AWS, like what are your favorite tools or services in AWS ecosystem when it comes to designing a system?
I mean, there is no go to list that I will always choose these services. As I said, right, you will always have to do that trade-off analysis. But there are some universal services, right? Let's say Amazon S3. These
Mhm.
are kind of universal services which you always use. IAM policies, okay. Uh, 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 Cloud formation for logs,
Yeah.
okay. You are, let's say, just using AWS technologies, you use cloud formation. So cloud formation is everywhere. Either you are using lambda, so cloud formation, everything you want to see, metrics or logs, you will have the cloud watch to see it.
Yeah.
So I think these are some of the go-to services. But like for me, uh, I always do that analysis that this particular service makes sense to me. uh, let's take one example. Okay, I have first heavily worked with DynamoDB in past.
Okay.
Like as part of Amazon, I stayed there 5 years, and like whatever system I worked on,
Mhm.
we used DynamoDB. So it was go-to tool. But when I joined Jupyter, they were using Postgres.
Okay.
Okay, Aurora Postgres. So I mean, you will have to identify that. I will not say that yeah, I know DynamoDB, I will use it. You will have to identify. Okay, these are my query patterns, and as part of as if like depending on these query patterns, if this database choice makes sense to me.
Mhm.
So I mean, yeah, there is no go to list, I will
Yeah.
say. That always understand, because there are a lot of services, and I included that as part of book as well, which
Mhm.
kind of similar. Let's say one of the features in Kinesis is much similar to managed streaming for Kafka, Amazon MSK.
Okay. Okay.
Similarly, there are some features which overlap with SQS and SNS.
Yeah.
So do you use combination of them? Do you use just a single one? So I will suggest always do that analysis, because again, you also have to save on money. It
Mhm.
doesn't have to sound fancy on paper. You also have to save money. So yeah.
Yeah, of course. Like there are like 200 plus services by AWS, and you
Yeah.
cannot master all of them. Of course, we should agree hands down. So whatever the use cases that you're working on, you should be familiar on those services in the line, right? So
Yeah.
that's what I also recommend. And we talked about your book, System Design. Like, what inspired you to write a book that too specifically on AWS, the system design on AWS?
So I have the copy near me. I
Yeah.
am not, it's visible. Uh, so system design on AWS, it's, I mean, the one thought which you get firsthand is that is it just about AWS? It's not.
Mhm.
So, I mean, like just to share you like how it all started. So
Mhm.
it started with my co-author. He shared that you already publish content on YouTube. I have this, I'm an idea of writing a book. Will you be interested? I have some proposal thought through. So like then we work together to like what kind of chapters we can include and all those things. And then we reached out to so basically you have to submit your proposal to O'Reilly, and then it goes through. So how it all started? It started with a basic gist that I'm already creating content, so why not try this one? It's a long commitment
Yeah.
to be. I mean, and to start with, from technical books, you can't expect too much of monetary benefits.
Of course. Yeah.
If you are lucky enough, then yes. But yeah, it's hard for tech books.
Agree with you.
So the one thing which was most important to me was that I will get to improve my own skills.
Mhm.
Uh, as part of the book, you will do a lot of research. I read a lot of other books. Read a lot of engineering blogs. I also read a lot of AWS documentation. So you get to develop yourself. So that's one part, and then you get to share that knowledge with other people. So that was the what you say the first starting point to get started on systems design on AWS.
Great. That's a great journey. Like I can't agree more with you. Like the amount of time it takes to create a content and to write a book, it's priceless if you ask me.
Yeah, we took close to 2.5 years to complete the book. So it's it's a big effort which you have to spend, and then lot of review phases as well.
Yeah,
So I mean that's how the technical, I mean what you say, good quality content comes out. So
absolutely.
it's all worth it. It's finally out. So yeah, I'm really happy about it.
So yeah, to the viewers who are interested in learning about system design in depth, right? So he has taken examples of multiple customers who are utilizing AWS and how they are building systems. So
Mhm.
go get your copy of the book. So I will make sure to provide the link to the book in the description. You can purchase it on Amazon and other third party vendors as well. So we'll make sure to provide the links in the description box below. Also, make sure to subscribe to Mandeep's channel, and he's one guy who a go-to guy who explains system design and AWS sort of things really well. Like I still watch your videos, to be really honest. Yeah, I saw your Booking.com video, which was recently released, like a 3 day. So yeah, that's how I'll make sure to provide the link to Mandeep's channel and also his LinkedIn profile as well. So, with that, I would like to ask another question like, how did your experience as a software engineer working in AWS and also being a community builder in AWS, like, how did it influence the content and the structure of the book itself? Can you shed some light around that?
So if I quickly like talk about the structure of the book, it is divided into three parts. So part one explores the fundamentals, different fundamentals of system design. Okay, like let's say in databases there are two chapters, chapter two and chapter three, and then basic concepts around, let's say, availability, consistency, reliability. All these terms are defined in chapter one. Then caching, load balancing, different design architectural patterns, containerization. So all these things are covered in part one. And part two talks extensively about AWS services. So there are different services in different domains. So in networking, there are a couple of them, then storage, then orchestration, monitoring. So machine learning, big data. So chapter two covers these, and we do comparison sort of thing like at every place. We never say that go use this. We always take examples
Yeah.
that this is my example and why this is making sense to me. And then part three is like really extensive, which includes 8 chapters, and there are different use cases. So how will you actually develop a system?
Okay.
Let's say the final chapter is designing a stockbroker application. So how will you design a system like Zerodha?
Okay.
Okay. And if I say like the structure of the book, how it's influenced, right? It's so the basic idea was that like whatever system design content is available right now on internet, like whatever books you see or like whatever things are there, they are really high level. They do not go that much into depth. Or what I can say is they are really focused on interviews per se.
Mm.
Okay. But if you, let's say, there is no book which you will find which will say that yeah, this is the architecture you are came across, and then how will you deploy that architecture on AWS? And in the deploying to architecture to AWS as well, uh, like as I said, right, no architecture is perfect. So how will you navigate through that journey? So in the book, every chapter has that day zero to day n architecture. Okay.
Okay.
So day zero is basically like, let's say you are just starting out.
Mm-hmm.
How will you develop a system? Okay. With
Okay,
minimum
my
components.
next question was that, like, who's this book for? Whether it's targeted for beginners or intermediates or engineers or architects. So I think
So
you.
yeah, I can include definitely in this question only. So as I said, right, the part one contains fundamentals. Okay. So and it progresses through that journey. It's a big book. That's why we were able to include so much of content
Yeah.
and not give just the high level view. So you start with the fundamentals, you go into the depth, and then you actually okay. So and then you do all that trade-off analysis why this particular architecture makes sense to me. So like as I was discussing earlier, that you have the day zero architecture that you are just starting out. So they try to leverage a lot of managed services because they are easy to use.
Yeah.
And then we have a section which says scaling to millions and beyond,
Yeah.
which talks about what are the bottlenecks which could be there.
Agreed. Yeah.
Let's say for a social media application,
Mm-hmm.
you have to roll out a feature to support comments on a post. Okay. So how do you scale that out? How will you see that or develop that feature on day zero? And then what could be the bottlenecks? So in that you will figure out everything from like what is the networking protocol you can use.
Yeah.
You need multi-region architecture. Okay. And then finally, how you leverage different AWS components to use it. Okay. And when I say system design on AWS, like I started off this answer that it's not just about AWS folks. Okay. So part one is like there is no mention of AWS in part one. It's just
Yeah. Yeah.
system fundamentals.
Yeah.
Then part three as well. Part two is just about AWS, but part three also it start with the basic understanding of things.
Mm.
Uh, the generic side of things, how will you come up with that architecture? Then AWS is chosen as a platform that if you have that architecture, how will you deploy that architecture?
Yeah.
And a lot of discussions in the book which includes, let's say I have used step functions for orchestration. Okay.
Mm.
Now we have also discussed that at what point like you should consider switching out of step functions,
Yeah.
considering all the factors.
Mm.
It's never about scale. It's always about combination of how much control you want to take,
Yeah.
uh, then cost,
Mm.
then what is the scale you are supporting. So it's never just about that at scale you have to move out of managed services. We
Yeah.
have done that trade-off analysis that if you use managed services, then this is how the picture looks like
Mhm.
and what could be the bottlenecks. But what are the great side of things which comes out of box for managed services because you don't have operational overhead.
Yeah.
That's a big, very big churn. So every chapter talks about these what you say like it touches the every aspect of system design.
Mm-hmm.
So I will say it's for beginner, intermediate, or advanced. Whether you are SD1,
Mm-hmm.
SD2, or you are architect,
Yeah.
whichever role you are, this book will be really helpful. And we got a lot of good feedback from every level of people who are working in the
Yeah.
industry.
Yeah.
So yeah, we are pretty confident. We were confident earlier, but we have seen great feedback. So we are pretty confident that yeah, this is definitely helpful for any position you are working on.
Absolutely. Like I was, refreshing it by myself. Like I was going through the book, and the first chapter and the second chapter, it touch bases more on the fundamental side of technology, like how things work and what happens, what. So agree with all the things that you mentioned, and I also agree that you cannot design a very good system in the first hand itself, right? In the first go, it takes a lot of time and effort, and it's the ever going process, and you
Yep.
keep on increasing and working on the architecture itself, like that's the key thing. So when we talk about this, like what's the one chapter in your book, like, or concept in the book, you think every developer should read? Of course, like there are a lot of chapters, but what is that one chapter which I cannot miss out on, and what's the reason for that?
Uh, I mean, as I said, right, like every chapter is important in its own aspect. But if I say like what's more important, so I mean, chapter 9 is about networking. Okay. Now, I have seen like many people don't have that knowledge. Okay, they just keep it out. They assume that it will work out of the box,
Mm-hmm.
but that's where things break at scale. So I think you also mentioned that fundamentals are important. So chapter 9 is really important. It understands or like explains you what are the basic concepts around networking,
Okay.
and then also explore different AWS services.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Uh, from basic choices like IPv6 or like CIDR or all those things. How do you choose a particular technology? Now, apart from that, it's really hard to choose a particular chapter to give to audience.
Got it. Yeah.
But yeah, chapter one is a mix of what you can say fundamentals plus AWS services and all.
Okay.
And all the 8 chapters in part three are really great. You will
Okay.
not
That
find
makes
that
sense.
content anywhere on the internet. So
Yeah.
that's really worth it to read.
Yeah, that makes really sense. Like, just cannot say which one chapter can help you. But yeah, when you talked about networking and why is it important, we both are connected just because of network. So we need to agree to that fact. And
Yeah.
forget about being an engineering graduate, or as a person in the world, you should know how things are working in the background. So
Yeah.
if somebody comes and asks you like what happens when you type google.com in a browser, like you should be able to at least explain that clearly. So these are the things happening, and how things are working. So that's very crucial, and I think you have covered all of the things that you have coming to the networking part in your book. So again, if you are really interested in it, please check out the links in the description. And coming to the last segment of this podcast. So as someone who's building content on YouTube, and you're a community builder as well, like what made you start sharing the knowledge in public? Like what's the key thing that drive you?
It started out like really back around I think 2020. I started out putting up content on YouTube, and
Mhm.
it started out with basic requirements. So there were like very less content on cloud support associate. So I had one of the member in my team in Amazon, Love Babbar, you might know. He have a YouTube channel. So he said that there are a lot of students which reached out to me about cloud this role at AWS, and you already worked on it. So can you offer some guidance to them? So that's how it all started. I tried. I first created a GitHub repo which includes like whatever the questions which were asked to me, what kind of questions people can prepare. So it started out from there, and then like I received a lot of good feedback around, yeah, this really helped, I was able to crack the role and all those things. And there are also a lot of messages which like at later point of time I got that like your videos and your advice helped out, like they were able to move from support role to software engineer.
Yep.
These things are good feedback along the way. Like I never made money from YouTube. So these really good feedback from people made me going. And I think one thing is that I also have my own keen interest in learning. So
Yep.
that's another aspect. But yeah, as along with you, when they are receiving good feedback, you feel appreciated and think like, let's do more. So yeah.
Yeah, I think we resonate with my motivation. Like I also follow a thing called learn, earn, and return. So learning is there, earning is there, and at the end you should also return back to the society. And you and I are doing it by sharing our knowledge to the community. So yeah, that's one of the thing that I wanted to say as well. Like what trends do you see in shaping the future of system design in the cloud or DevOps space going forward?
When I say trends, I'm not a huge believer in following the trends, but things are getting easy. So I will say that as let's say as part of all the AI tools, you can leverage them, right? To get stuff about, whatever system you are, let's say, designing a system. Okay. So you can get that help from basic prompt in any of the AI tool. So trends wise, I think AI is definitely a trend.
Mhm.
But as part of that as well, I will say that don't follow anything blindly, because you will always have to understand your use case.
Yep.
You only understand your requirements, that
Yep.
what you really need. So I will say that take help. I definitely use all the AI tools as part of my coding or like understanding or summarizing stuff. And
Mhm.
that definitely helps to reduce my time. So I will say AI is a big trend. And if I talk about cloud space, uh, I will just one discussion around like using managed services versus like like if you want to deploy your own.
Mhm.
So chapter 21 in my book explores a lot of these aspects around what if you deploy your system by your own. Like
Okay.
when we say that it brings a lot of operational burden or like a lot of things. So it might be possible that cloud providers are saying this because they also want to earn money, right?
Yep. Yep.
So what is the actual amount of effort is really needed? So you should understand that and then make a decision. As I think I said at the start of the video, not every best practices will be best for you. So
Yep.
there are a lot of design philosophies which you will see all over the internet. You don't have to follow every one of them.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Whichever you are following, or let's say you are creating your own philosophy, you should be able to understand your customer requirement and then give the solution which they are expecting.
Right, right. That's a good point that you brought at the end. Like we need to analyze what is the best fit for my design or the my architecture. So that's one important thing when you're designing any system or any software, or in fact, like when you're deploying this architecture as well. That is one thing that you need to consider. So any final advice for engineers who want to master system design specifically on AWS? Like, would you like to advise anything there?
I will say focus on fundamentals, understand your use case,
Mhm.
and then go from there.
Okay.
And then whenever new requirements come in, just evaluate again.
Okay.
Don't try to build that perfect architecture. It doesn't exist, and you will just waste a lot of time.
Yeah.
Just build it and then evaluate, and then keep on evaluating.
Right. And one, 2 points I would like to add is that do not assume things and do not hesitate to ask questions. So
Yeah,
these
that's
two,
yeah.
I learned it hard way. So I had to, advise my viewers as well. So yeah, that brings the to the end of the podcast. And are there any final thoughts, Mandeep, that you want to share to my viewers?
I mean, I think since your audience is mostly around DevOps, right? I
Mhm.
will say that the same trade-off analysis or anything which we do as part of like system design is not about just software engineering.
Mhm.
It's every role. System design is about that analysis or like evaluation which you do. So in any role you are, always do that analysis, and you should be able to make a case that I'm using this because this is the reason basically. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's the good thing that you bought. And lastly, this is my last question. I promise. Where can my listeners follow you and buy your books or watch your videos?
Yeah, I think you already covered it, but if you like, so I for my YouTube channel, the channel name is MsDeep Singh, and Yeshwanth will share the link with you in the link description, YouTube video description, so you can check out there. For the book, so for Indian viewers, Sroff Publisher is the local distributor, so you can directly buy from their website, and it's also available on Amazon.in. If you want to read online, it's available on O'Reilly platform, so you can take a subscription there. And I will just say one thing, that you don't have to what to say, believe what I said or what Yashwant said. You can take the free trial from O'Reilly. So it's a free trial available for 10 days, so you can use that. There are also two chapters which are sponsored by Dragonfly, so you can read those. Okay, so I will say that read out the content via free trials and free stuff, whatever is available, and then decide by your own that yeah, this book is for me. So it's available on Amazon worldwide, on India, Amazon.in, US, Amazon.com. I mean, UK, it's Amazon.uk. So it's available on Amazon website worldwide. And in India specifically, you can also buy it on soft publishers. And if you want to read online, then yeah, O'Reilly platform on Amazon Kindle is the place to go.
Got it. Thanks. Thanks, Mandeep, for sharing all your insights. It was, lovely interacting with you. I mean, personally, I got to learn a lot from your channel, and as a person, I follow you on LinkedIn. Like you, whatever the thoughts that you share is completely resonating with me on my day-to-day activities as well. So thank you so much again for accepting my invite to be on this podcast. Look forward to doing more such activities in future as well. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Yeshwanth. Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much, Mandeep, for being here and for sharing your expertise so openly. For all our listeners, make sure you check out his book, System Design on AWS. It's packed with real world insights, and follow his YouTube channel, MsDeepSingh, for some excellent cloud and DevOps related and also system design software engineering related content as well. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to share it, subscribe to the channel, and follow us for more deep dives into the world of cloud and DevOps. This is Yeshwanth signing off from the Cloud Hour. See you in the next one.